way. Do? The whole situation is so confusing. Good plan. Impossible things don't just happen. We'll get to the truth one way or another.
Just relax. Even if everyone else suspects Lenny and Lynette, at least we will be supporting them from the stands. Besides, I doubt Farina understands any more about what happened than we do.
Thanks, Navia. Well, we'll be going then.
Best of luck to you.
Ah, finally, you're back. Well, how did your investigation go?
To be honest, you might be disappointed.
No. We're already very grateful that you were willing to help.
Well now, don't you all look disappointed. Don't tell me that your investigation came up empty-handed. That was to be expected, of course. The guilty can never produce proof of their innocence. But don't let that stop you. I shall be terribly disappointed should you, my most anticipated folk...
Since both parties are present, I declare that the trial regarding the magic show incident is now in session. Firstly, in order for the audience to understand the causes and results of the incident, could we please have Mr. Linney explain the trick?
Yes, of course. I will explain while Lynette demonstrates on stage.
Thank you, Mr. Linney. In that case, I take your statement to be that you ran to and remained hidden within the magic box in the audience stands once the trick began, and thus could not have committed the crime. Is this correct?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
In that case, I call upon the prosecution. Lady Farina.
Why, of course I do. Allow me to take the first shot and break this case wide open. Mr. Linney is clearly lying. There is no way you could have been in the box the whole time if you were to abduct Halsey and murder Cowell. In fact, I'd say...
That is simply your hypothesis based on the presumption that I'm guilty.
Oh, is that so? And if I may ask, what did you hear while you were inside your box?
The roaring countdown of the crowd, of course. That's how I kept track of the time and built anticipation for the finale.
And you didn't hear anything else at all? Nothing that might leave an impression of any kind?
No, nothing.
I see. But But when the count reached 30 seconds or so, there was a thud. One so loud that I believe
Huh?
Hey, hang on. Something's not...
Yeah, I'm sure he could have heard a noise that loud.
I was right by the box, and I definitely heard the thud.
Look at those scales. Could those mean...
Well then, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to use the words of the magician himself. You never know what can happen in the blink of an eye. Indeed, it seems his alibi... Of course, I have armed myself to do far more than smash your alibi. Confidence cannot go unfounded, and my foundations are rock solid. Tell me, aren't you and Lynette actually from the House of the Hearth?
The House of the Hearth?
No wonder they did something like this.
So the serial disappearances were the Fatsui's doing. Now it all makes sense.
I've got a feeling that what happened on stage probably wasn't just an accident.
That's irrelevant. Our identities have nothing to do with what happened.
Indeed. Then perhaps you could tell us everything that happened during that 1 minute. Your first priority is to prove yourself innocent after all. I'm sure there is little that needs to be kept secret now. Unless your script already has holes in it. The Outlander is speechless. My, oh my, don't they look flabbergasted? Now comes the good thing I made all those preparations. Seems the all-nighter I pulled last night is really paying off.
Hey, Linny, why didn't you tell us this before?
Order! Order! Mr. Linney, allow me to re-establish the facts. Lady Farina has raised 2 points. First, when the thud was heard in the Opera House, you were neither in the box nor the tunnel. Second, you and Ms. Lynette are both members of the House of the Hearth. Are these claims true? Please answer my question, Mr. Linney.
I'm sorry. Yes, they're true, Your Honor.
I knew it!
Well, that's it. We might as well move on to the sentencing already.
What should we do now?
Granted. In that case, what is your request?
Is that really necessary? They're already as good as guilty.
The defendant deceived their own attorneys. What is there left to discuss?
Order! Your request is reasonable, and we shall adjourn. This trial will reconvene in 1 hour.
So you would stick to Mr. Linney's defense even after knowing what you do now? You certainly have more professionalism than I thought. In that case, my dear audience, let's allow the joy of victory to steep for a little while longer.
Well, this is awkward. I didn't think the Hydro Archon would dig all that up. I'm sorry, Traveler and Paimon.
Yeah, so...
Paimon doesn't know where to start. We trusted you two. We based our entire reasoning on the assumption that you weren't bad guys. Not to set the wrong tone or anything, but Paimon's really mad!
I'm very sorry. I know you've clashed with the Fatui several times before. I wouldn't be surprised if just hearing the word is enough to make you upset. But our organization is very, very large, and the Harbingers have very different personalities and goals.
right now, we want to save people. As many as we can.
That's right. I'm sure we're on the same page when it comes to this nation and the disaster that its people might face. I knew if it weren't for our respective identities, we could become good friends. That's why I didn't wish to flat out lie to you, but chose to hide some details since the truth is very important, but being completely transparent about everything would see us spending more effort than we need to. Right. So, you be the judge. Heck, if I were you, You met a Fatus who works as a magician, a trickster by trade. All by coincidence, too. But still, I'm asking you to trust me. I am no criminal. At least, not in this case.
Sorry. Please forgive us.
Well, you both say that, but... Right. Let's hear your answer first, and no lies now!
Of course. I'll answer any question you ask. We've been trying to find out how the Oratrice operates. We want to know why it has a consciousness. Why can it deliver sentences accurately? During our investigations, we learned that the machine's core is beneath it. From that moment on, Lynette and I have been designing this box swap trick, with the objective of getting close to the...
Is that why you needed a whole minute?
That's right. In truth, the audience would take about 75 seconds to count down from 60, while I would only need 15 to get to the opposite box. So, after jumping into the tunnel, I accessed the Opera House basement via the vent, and went to investigate the room in which the core is...
That air vent was created during the construction of the tunnel specifically to execute this step.
Well, nothing. As soon as I reached that room and was which should have been impossible, of course, I was quite certain that I was the only one in the room. That voice seemed to recognize me and tried to speak to me. I chose to err on the side of caution and retreated the way I came. On the way back, I saw the broken vase and the clothes on the ground, but the countdown was almost finished, so there wasn't time to give it any thought. After that, the homicide occurred just...
Well, that explains why you didn't hear the thud.
Because of that prophecy I told you about, of course. We must know all we can about this nation's secrets in order to deal with that prophecy.
That's the only way we can save everyone.
So, there you have it. The whole truth. I swear, I didn't hide. It was never my wish to proceed under this cloud of mistrust either. But, like I said earlier, you can be the judge. If you want to leave because you don't trust the Fatui, there's nothing I can do to stop you.
Well, Traveler, you decide. Paimon will follow your lead however you choose.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for giving us a chance.
The current problem is that the scales are tipped pretty badly against you two. If we want to refute the Hydro Archon's accusations, we're gonna need a seriously watertight defense. Huh? Hope!
Both parties have returned to their positions. Let us continue the trial. When last we left off, Mr. Linney acknowledged the new evidence presented by Lady Farina as fact. Therefore, Lady Farina may continue stating her reconstruction of the events.
That took long enough. Now then, if everyone would lend me their attention. At this stage, let's revisit that scene from Linney's perspective. Countdown began, he entered the tunnel. When the flatbed trolley passed, he opened the box and got into an altercation with Halsey, which he did not realize that the sound could be heard by everyone in the opera house, which is why he claimed. Finally, he used the vase to knock her out, before making her change clothes to prevent others from recognizing her. At this time, Cowell arrived in the tunnel, having heard that strange noise. So Linney proceeded to knock him out too before stuffing him into that box. Afterward, Linney passed the unconscious Halsey to his accomplice through the magic box. And there you have it. That's the—
Does the defendant's side have any objections to
The key to refuting Lady Farina is the order of events. According to Linney, he left via the vent after entering the tunnel. He couldn't have had that altercation with Halsey. Linney went to the room that contains the Oratrice's core. This is... Linney didn't...
Attention! Ace Detective Pine. When the countdown started, Linney did indeed go into the tunnel. But he immediately used a vent to access the Opera House basement, which is where the underground core of the Oratrice is. Once he reached that area, he heard a voice in what should have been an empty room. The crime scene had already developed by the time he reached the tunnel again. Finally, he reached the surface And that was when the accident happened from... Paimon did it! Paimon actually managed to say all that! Wasn't it awesome?
In other words, you believe that he knew nothing of—
That's right!
my reasoning?
If that's the case, then if Cowell hadn't entered the tunnel, who was the entire setup meant to— Assuming that what you say is true, Linny only needed to kidnap the young girl to cause a new disappearance case. What would—
Oh, they have a point.
That's right, you tell him! And that's why they're part— Well, your denial is very strident, I'll give you that. But what— Of course I do. If he had been in the magic box the whole time, you're saying that he wasn't?
Are you sure we don't need to give this more thought? Paimon thinks there's some— That's right! Linny wasn't in the box or in— This means that when the crime happened, Linny had already entered the basement via the same clue you used to disprove his alibi has now become the best proof! Ha ha! How do you like that?
Well played. To think you'd use such logic. Well then, if it wasn't Linny who committed the crimes, then who was it?
The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny's assistant. Halsey is the missing person. Could there have been a third? Halsey is the missing person. The deceased's name is Cowell.
Huh? Are you serious? The killer was, in fact, Cowl, the deceased!
Oh, is that so?
What I must do next is recreate the truth. What Cowl did, and how he went from would-be perpetrator to victim. It would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent. Linny was not in the tunnel at that moment. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel. The deceased's name is Cowl, Linny's assistant. The deceased's name is Cowl. No one entered or left the... Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel. It would have been tough for both people to... No one entered or left... The deceased's name is Cowl, Linny... Linny was not in the Linny was not in the tunnel. The sound we heard may have come from a clap. Halsey's clothing. Halsey's clothing was... The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing The deceased's name is Cowl, Linny's assistant. Halsey's clothing was... The deceased's name is Cowl. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing Halsey and the criminal. No one entered or left the opera house through its...
What's wrong, Traveler? Are you still having trouble figuring things out?
I see how it is.
Look, since we're at a dead end, why not consider a different... Just like the trick isn't...
If only we knew how Halsey disappeared.
Well, that would be nice, but the tunnel only has 3... And it's not like this is a magic trick where you can just make a real live person disappear.
Excuse my interruption, dear opponents, but do you not see that the crowd is growing impatient? There is no greater sin in this opera house.
If the defense is unable to make further effective arguments, we will move on to the next stage of the trial.
Lenny was not in the tunnel at that moment, which gave our criminal ample time. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing Halsey and the criminal. The deceased's name is Cowell, Lenny's assistant. He would have been able to tamper with the equipment. No one entered or left the Opera House through its entrances. Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel. The vase was not broken.
Disappeared instead of being kidnapped? Lynette escaped from the water tank, vanishing gradually and leaving. If there's a similar method where a person could be transformed into water...
Just a moment, please. I do hope you know how preposterous you sound at the moment. How could a person ever be transformed into water? This is reality we're talking about here. Must we really? I should think that of anyone. Your friend Linny. Magic tricks are ultimately just illusions and misdirection. But Halsey's disappearance is very real. We're talking about...
Even so, I trust the Traveler's judgment. The truth must be out there somewhere. Perhaps some new line of reasoning may open if we try to gather all the focal points that don't make sense. Since Cal was the deceased, we haven't placed much attention on him. But given that we aren't making much progress with the case, it wouldn't hurt to have a look at his belongings, would...
People really do come up with all sorts of harebrained schemes when at the end of their rope. The way I see it, your suggestion that we broaden the scope of our investigation is nothing but a tactic for stalling the trial.
Nevertheless, I believe that this is a reasonable request on the part of an attorney. Since the trial does indeed appear to be at an impasse, I believe that additional evidence may help us make more progress. Guards, please step into the lounge and examine the personal effects of the...
We are still examining the items, but we have already made critical progress that we feel must be shared with everyone. We discovered several test tubes of fluid within Cowell's baggage, each labeled separately. The notebook in his backpack claims that these fluids are water from the primordial sea.
The primordial sea.
The note's contents also indicate that Cowell belonged to an organization that sells illegal drugs and that he had an accomplice. The notebook has many entries concerning safe usage of these fluids, in which the keyword dissolve appears. One of these tubes was labeled Opera Epiclese, along with yesterday's date. The notes also state that these dissolution properties work exclusively on people from Fontaine. It's likely that Halsey was chosen as some sort of test subject. As such, we believe that the defense's hypothesis is, in fact, supported by sufficient evidence.
You've got to be kidding! People dissolving...
Could something so ridiculous actually be true?
Wait a moment. This reminds me of a certain prophecy, but...
If people can become water, does that mean that the water tank's real use was as a means to hide water stains? And if Cowell was Wait just a minute. Could that mean... You two, with me, quick!
Demoiselle, wait! What about your partners?
Let's go. Just trust me.
Order! Order! It is undeniable that further examination of the deceased's personal effects has yielded some surprising results, but we cannot yet verify the veracity of these clues. Still, let us assume that these clues are indeed authentic, albeit with the understanding that Ms. Halsey has yet to be found. Guards, please continue examining the items along these lines. Mr. Linney, it appears your hypothesis is supported by the evidence, so please continue speaking.
Of course. If we uphold this hypothesis, I believe that many of this case's seemingly unrelated clues can be connected together.
Right! Like the metal hook! That one didn't make sense at all. Let's think about this. Cowell's methods must have something to do with that water from the primordial sea.
The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny's assistant. The water from the primordial sea should already have been prepped before The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny. The water from the primordial sea. Now it seems like the hook rope. The water from the primordial sea. Lynette was in the magic box on stage the entire... I remember there was something else. The water from the primordial sea should... Now it seems like the hook rope was not meant... The rope that strung the water tank up... Now it seems like the hook rope was not meant... Now it seems like the hook rope was not meant for an... The rope that strung the water tank up was lit by the fire... I remember there was something else...
It's Ace Detective Paimon's time to shine again! In the original plan, Cowell would tamper with the water tank rope and the number selector securing his target. containing Halsey was lowered, the metal hook would retract gradually and pierce the balloon at the top of the box. When the balloon attached to the box popped, the water from the primordial seed inside it would pour down and dissolve Halsey. Afterward, Cowl would enter the tunnel and break the flower vase to conceal the water inside the tunnel. But he encountered something unexpected in the tunnel and wound up being fatally hit by the same water tank he meant to use to cover his tracks.
Huh. That does make sense.
That actually links together.
Oh dear, what do I do? Even I think they sound convincing now. Have I falsely accused?
Now, it seems like the only point of contention remaining is the exact circumstances that led to Cowl's death. His notes mentioned he had an accomplice who could be related to the situation.
On that note, the guards have just contacted me indicating that they uncovered new evidence. I shall now invite him on stage to share it with us.
Thank you, Your Honor. We were just inspecting the luggage of the other people involved, and we found an identical sample of the water from the primordial sea.
What?
That can't be.
Oh, I see. Well, how wonderfully does this not clear all doubt? My dear citizens, my loyal audience, allow me to present my reasoning and bring this performance to a swift close. Vinny did not need to take part in the dissolution. Having made modifications to the props beforehand, his accomplice Cow. But upon his return, in cruel avarice, Lenny desired. Ultimately, he knocked Cowell out, and the tool meant to cover the crime up all. Now, as much as I regret having come to such a viciously straightforward conclusion, it does seem that the famed Fatui is quite the core. Am I right, Mr. Lenny?
We've used up all the evidence we collected. Is this the end of the road?
Oh no! Paimon can't think of anything either. Seems using the water as new evidence was too good a move.
I think we've all seen enough now. I believe this is indeed... Now then, my good.
Excuse me, everyone, but I must interject.
Miss, I must ask you not to shout. And
Oh, come on. Don't be hasty. I have a good reason for interrupting, you know. Now, would anyone here like to take... I'll show you an amazing trick. One that can bring a young woman who has disappeared back...
What in the world is she saying?
No offense, miss, but miracles like that are beyond...
Come on now, don't be silly. Magic is all about misdirection, isn't it? It often conceals the truth, but once everyone believes the illusion, can't magic reveal the truth to them once again? And wouldn't such a trick be the most marvelous finale to today's performance? Come on, Lenny and Lynette, give it another go. Don't worry, but as the magic makers and stars of the show, I think I should...
I understand.
And
Voila!
Sorry for the interruption.
Wait, isn't that Halsey? So...
To be clear, I'm only here because this person told me that if I testified, the merit of doing so would lessen my sentence. I was hiding outside this room listening to the proceedings because I was afraid that I would be the one put on trial. I was just feeling happy that no one had noticed me. And then, before I knew it, she caught...
That'll teach you to underestimate us three.
Where should I begin? I'm sorry. I'm the one who killed Cowl. I admit it.
What?
Firstly, my name isn't Halsey. It's Lillian, and I'm originally from Mondstadt. I heard that Linny's show was gonna be a real thriller, but I missed the chance to buy a ticket. That's how I make a living. I steal stuff here and there. And I'd never been caught before. But I was noticed at the harbor a few days ago, and I barely got away. Linny was the one.
Hey! No wonder you look familiar! So you were the thief! Liddy even mentioned that you were pretty skilled.
Well, and I thought that would have been the end of it, but then the number selector chose me. He even mentioned the Fortress of Meripede. That's a prison, isn't it? So you can imagine how shocked I was. I thought he was on to me for sure. So I played along with the show while looking for an opening to flee. But then I got water poured on me for no reason, and then someone jumped into the tunnel to nab me. I wasn't going to take that lying down, so I knocked him out and stuffed him into the... There was nowhere to run from there, though, so I had to change my clothes and hide in a box containing performance. I slipped out after the first guard arrived at the scene and could...
Can a person even hide in there?
But I swear, I didn't know that the water tank would fall down. Really, had I known that, I wouldn't have put him in the magic box. I may be a thief.
Well, that makes everything pretty clear now, doesn't it?
This time, we need to tell the entire story from Lillian's... The strange sound... The flower... Lillian...
And it's Ace Detective time! Having been selected out of the blue, Lillian panicked. Her panic only intensified after she entered the tunnel and had water poured on her head. So she kicked the door open, producing the... Hearing the commotion, Cowl leapt into the tunnel, only to discover that Lillian had not dissolved. He did not know that Lillian was not from Fontaine, but was a thief who made her way in by stealing, mistakenly believing that the water from the primordial sea needed time to take effect. He tried to force Lillian back into the box. The two broke the flower vase during the struggle, but Lillian came out on top, knocking Cowl. With no way of escaping, she changed her clothes and... She knew that she would have to go through guard inspection if she tried to leave afterward. So, she has been trapped in the
She had already become desperately hungry by the time we were chatting over macarons. So, she swiped 2 of them right under our noses. Talk about a sneaky thief.
At this point, all the events that happened...
Ah, so that's the...
Bravo!
Now then, Lady Farina, do you wish to... Please answer the question, Lady Farina. Also, if I may add, the trial has not yet ended. As such...
What? Are you reading my mind now? No. I have no further argument.
Wow! Look at that!
If there are no objections, then as the Chief Justice of Fontaine, I shall once again repeat the full sequence of events. The actual perpetrator of the serial disappearances, Cowell, selected his next victim. With some modifications to the selector, he could ensure that the pre-selected young woman to cover up any evidence while committing the deed. He also tampered with the rope suspending the water tank, using the fireworks at the end of the performance to cause the tank. He poured the water from the primordial sea into a balloon. Finally, he passed the prepared hook on a rope through the gap in the magic box's door when bringing the young woman to said box. When the magic trick officially began, the box containing the woman was lowered into the tunnel, tightening the hook rope and bursting the balloon containing the water. If all had gone to plan, the young woman would be dissolved at this time. However, Lillian was not from Fontaine, and thus fled the box with a loud noise. Realizing that there was trouble, Cowell entered the tunnel and met Lillian. Thinking that the waters had not yet taken effect, he decided to proceed. However, his opponent was more capable than he thought, and he was overcome, knocked unconscious, and placed into the magic box, and thus became his own final victim. Lillian, according to her own statements. As for Linny, he was in the underground structures. From this reconstruction of events, we can conclude that Linny...
Hooray, Linny and Lynette! Amazing!
While there is much in Linny and Lillian's conduct that should still be investigated separately, this case, at least, can be handed over to the Oratrice to make the final decision. As such, Linny and Lynette are officially...
Great work.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Next, I think we deserve an... How did you find the water from the primordial sea in...
Right! Your discovery caused me to make a serious mistake, you know. Or was that not a discovery?
I suspect that the accomplice mentioned in Cowell's notes was... I'm sure you know what you must do to lessen your sentence.
Speak quickly! Unless you want to earn yourself a one-way ticket.
I was just following orders. We were supposed to place blame for the serial disappearances onto Linny, and thus cause suspicion to fall on the Fatui. The higher-ups said this was the best opportunity to do so.
And now that your plan has fallen through, and the secrets of the water have been revealed, you have become a liability to said higher-ups, yes? Therefore, you would be wise to tell everything you know.
Yes, I'll tell you everything I know. Our boss discovered that the water can cause people to dissolve. It can also be made into a potion, which when extremely diluted, can cause people to experience We've been in this business for a while now, and have made decent more off it. The disappearances were also the boss's idea. I mean, this is the...
and now he can no longer talk.
Such ruthlessness.
An outrageous act. All present, please submit to inspection immediately.
So, we're just going back now? That's...
Traveler, Paimon! Please wait.
Lenny...
I know you may not want to speak to me right now. Maybe you don't even want to, but still. Let me thank you again for defending me to the end, even after you learned that I'm a member of the Fatui. I guess. But regardless, I didn't approach you with any ulterior motives or ill intent. I've spoken to you as myself. Just as for why I'm a Fatus, it's because the goals of the House of the Hearth align with those of an orphan like... That was how Father, who you might know as the Knave, approached...
The Knave? The one who controls the House of the Hearth? She's your father?
That's right. And since we're here, I was wondering, back when our parents first died, Lynette and I were left wandering the streets. To survive, I took to surreptitiously observing an older street performer who did magic. It took me several days to figure out how he pulled off his amazing... I took my sister through several streets until we found a crowded corner, and we began to perform. To my surprise, we proved to be pretty popular, and we could at least stop worrying about where our next meal would come from for a time. But I didn't want my... Before long, an aristocrat came to me and claimed that he wished to take us in after watching my performances.
So you went from orphans to nobility just...
That was how we felt at first, too. As if fate was on our side and we could say... But I gradually discovered that while we were called foster children, he would constantly take me to all sorts of banquets to garner attention, which he would then use to expand his social circles.
That doesn't seem too bad either.
It took a while for me to realize just how dark his heart really was. After one particular performance at a banquet, I discovered that Lynette was not on the same return vehicle as me. I waited a long time after we returned home, but she did not come back. I went to... The answer he gave me was... She caught the eye of the most eminent person at the banquet, so I sent her over as a gift. I mean, you'll be able to perform your...
Oh no. So he would... But wouldn't Fontaine's laws deal with...
As far as outsiders are concerned, this is a relationship akin to adoption or foster care. And they have their way. I managed to ferret out the location of the mansion of that so-called eminent person and hurried through the night. All I saw was the moonlit ground covered in blood, and the knave standing there in the darkness.
So, she'd already taken care of...
That's right. She had rescued my sister before she could come to any harm, and had even discovered several girls hidden in... the knave, might have seen something in me, and so she made me an offer. The House of the Hearth welcomes you, for your interests align with ours. Here, none will ever betray you. I was hesitant to trust her. I mean, I had just been betrayed by nobles, but she was also quick to destroy the noble who had taken us in at first, giving us back...
Oh, so that...
She has her own plan. She has gained permission from the Tsaritsa to first use the Gnosis's power once she obtains it. She plans to use it to find a way to break the
So, she believes in that prophecy too?
That's right. The whole House of the Hearth is currently working to combat that crisis. Today's case has also proven that people from Fontaine can indeed dissolve into some sort of water, thus further support all of us house members here. Lady Arlecchino herself included are from Fontaine. We won't give up on defending to us orphans. The only connection we have left to this world.
So, from small deeds like distributing magic pockets to huge schemes like...
It's all right. I understand. I just hope you can understand that even as a member of the House, I have never stopped making my own decisions. If you should need anything at all in the future, feel free to find...
Bye, Linny!
Hey there. What was with the disappearing act you pulled right as the trial ended?
Were you looking for us, Navia?
Well, this whole thing isn't exactly over, is it? I do feel that we're getting closer to solving the serial disappearances case, though. Don't you think so, too? Huh? What's wrong, my dear partner?
Besides, are you sure we're the ones who've been cracked? And given that there's new evidence from the trial, there should be a trail of red...
Ah, I see. Well, I won't lie. I'm a little sorry. I might have been too presumptuous.
Don't say that, Navi.
Aw, and we were having so much fun investigating with you, too. It was like having new waters flowing into a stagnant mire, causing new hope to spring forth, and the reflection in the murk to... sorry about that. I'm a bit prone to... Wait, shall we have a farewell meal? You know, to commemorate our time as partners?
Huh? Do we really need to get that formal?
Well, I'd just like to have a proper ending to every important memory. That way there are no regrets later. Anyway, it would just be a meal, so it shouldn't take up too much of your time.
You don't have to twist Paimon's arm. If Boss Navi is treating, count Paimon in!
Oh, wonderful! In that case, why don't we return to the Court of Fontaine and head to the Hotel de Boer? I believe we'll make it just in time for dinner.
I wonder where humans come from.
Who else deserves to take the stage more than Lady Farina?
I think the next one's
I prefer
trial.
magic, personally.
That's all well and good, but I just want our child to grow up safe and sound.
Bless our child with health and wisdom.
Who else deserves to
think the
take the
next
stage
one's a
more than
trial.
Lady Farina?
That's all well and good, but I just want our child to grow up safe and sound.
Ad Astra Abyssosk. Ad Astra Abyss. Thank you for completing today's commission. Ad Astra.
I came here several times with my father when I was little, but stopped eating here as often after growing up. I hope the—
Oh, don't worry! We haven't eaten at a hotel like this in a while.
In that case, I'll go order for us first. Please wait here a moment.
Ooh, everything looks so good. People in Fontaine sure know how to enjoy life.
Why, of course. Go ahead, try whatever you like. If the food's good, I'll make a group reservation for the rest of Spina di Rosula next.
And if it's not?
Well, then I'll still bring—
Yeah. Oh, we called this a farewell meal, but we—
Oh, true. Very true.
Huh? Paimon didn't mean that you had to order even more. Speaking of cases, do you think that the mastermind behind the serial disappearances will get caught soon now that this has all happened?
Well, we've certainly taken a big step forward, but I feel that's about it. We know that there's an organization that means to dissolve these young women, but we still don't know what they are really after.
If it hadn't happened right in front of us, Paimon wouldn't have ever believed that a person could be dissolved like that.
Right? Yet it was because this was such a preposterous notion that the...
Ugh. If only that guy could have finished speaking!
In such investigations, even the smallest step can seem like a yawning chasm if the trail... To be honest, I don't have high hopes for any follow-up that the authorities might conduct. It's not that I don't have faith in their ability. It's just that a different perspective is required and it's easy to guard against and deceive a single narrow perspective. A shift in thinking is required at such times in order, which is exactly why the Spina di Rosula exists. Those highfalutin folk are not all-knowing. That's why we exist. To seep into the cracks where...
Seems Paimon thought things were simpler than they act.
It's all right. Let's talk about something else. Like, what are your future plans?
That's true. We didn't have a chance to speak to her after the trial ended.
I see. So, your primary objective, which has been foiled so far, was to have a chat with the Hydro Archon. I've heard that there's a long line of people waiting to meet Lady Farina. I suspect you'll be waiting for quite a while, considering that you missed your...
Yeah. We've heard that she's super popular here in Fontaine, and that it'll be tough getting any of her time.
Well...
Guess that's Spina di Rosula.
Well, one way would be to infiltrate a performance troupe at the Opera House, only to abandon your act at the play's climax and ask to speak to her after the performance. I'm sure Lady Farina would be eager to see the ending, and would agree in order...
Could you suggest something a little more practical? This plan seems pretty...
All right. Here's another. Find a way to conceal yourselves under her bed. Then, wake her up in the dead of night and demand answers. Don't let her go. I can personally testify that this one works. When I'm sleepy, I'll do anything as long as I can finally get some sleep.
That might work, but that's not really the problem.
Ah, valid point. I overlooked that part. All right, no more joking around. Perhaps you could. You did defeat her in court, clearing citizens of hers from false accusations. False accusation she had nearly...
You mean that if we catch her while she's on a break, why don't we give it a try after this meal? You know.
Huh?
Was this your drink? Sorry about that. Paimon wasn't really paying attention.
No, it's fine. We're just about...
All right. Honestly, Paimon wouldn't recommend...
Is that so? Huh. If we're all finished eating, then I'll go pay.
Yeah, we're stuck. Oh, so full. Paimon can barely float anymore. Nah, that would be so... normal. You know...
Okay. As for expenses this month...
Hey, Navia! What are you...
Oh, nothing. It was just a meal, you know? Nothing the Spina di Rosula can't cover.
Let's get ready to try to meet the Hydro Archon again. Bye, Navia!
So this is goodbye, huh? Well, if you do encounter any other trouble in Fontaine, you're always welcome to contact the Spina di Rosula. In any case, I wish you smooth sailing.
See ya! I wonder who this gift could be from.
You lead the way.
Allow me!
One with nature. Share! Clouds high, the birds call!
We should make the most of these supplies. Let's move out. Let's move out. Let's move out. This may hurt a little. Yeah.
The wind knows me.
Covenant of the Deep! Rest and rebuild! A brash maneuver! How about we explore the area ahead of us later? Hold the line!
Are you going to hold a festival?
There aren't many people around.
Vache.
Looks like we're back here again. Huh? Traveler? That's kind of...
Vache? Vache?
Hey, why are you still walking towards it? There... Huh? Hang on. Hey, Traveler? Stop walking! Come on, wake up!
Vache, are you... my dear Vache? No, wait. You seem to be someone else. Wait. Who am... My memories feel like they have been washed away like a flood. So many fragments dissolved amidst the tide, never to be recovered. How much have I lost? How many things that I once held dear while on land have I since forgotten? Yes, that is what I was once. But now, I do not know how I came to be like this either. I only vaguely remember being covered in light blue water. I also remember going to many places. I loved it. No matter where I went, Vache would go with me. But now, we can no longer go back. No! Our reunion no longer has any... The thought of me gives him no succor. If you meet Vache, tell him not to look for me. Perhaps that is so, as I was submerged in the waters, losing consciousness. If only I could have comforted him, told him that I did not suffer. Is that what you call it? Dissolving. It was a state of neither fear nor frenzy, with only an end. I could also liken it to being a thirsty person who drinks water for the first time, and only then sees how they have lived for so long in a world. I think I hear your companion. It's time for you to go. Farewell, then.
Wake up! Come on, hurry! Navi is outnumbered!
Demoiselle, look out!
Dear God, it's a whole army of Gardamex. Chlorand?
Quick, now's our chance!
I should thank you for lending us your sword there, Chlorand. But before I do so, could you explain how you managed to show up here?
I followed you. It seemed to me that danger has followed you more closely as of late.
I believe that following someone without their knowledge is actually called stalking, is it not?
Mr. Callus's last wish was for me to ensure your safety, and I will not betray his trust.
Do not speak of my father!
Sorry, demoiselle. I was not strong.
Thank you for your aid, Miss Clorand, but do keep an eye out for your manner of speech.
Sorry,
Whatever. What else do you know?
I doubt I know much more than you. But I believe that the mastermind behind this... Your performance tonight will almost certainly attract their attention.
I'm sure they've known about me. And what about these Gardamex? I thought only those associated with the Maison Gardiennage could control them.
None of these mecha have serial numbers. I was sure to check a moment. I can only conclude that some powerful or wealthy party must have obtained them via illegal means.
What? Your point being that they're out of Spina di Rosula's league, then?
Yes. Be careful, and do not act rashly.
I will continue investigating, no matter what. Regardless.
I do not think that they'll strike again anytime soon. So I shall...
Right. I suppose that's the best news we've gotten today.
Demoiselle, I believe that Miss Clorand was being sincere with you.
I know, I just... She's...
Oh, thank goodness! I thought we were done for! Those Gardamex came out of nowhere while you were unconscious, and Nadia and her gang saved... Oh, and there was that champion duelist named Clorand who came out to save us too!
Oh, come now. Forget all that polite talk. That wasn't really a fair... As such, we're still partners.
It will take 50 years for me to match Demoiselle's magnanimity.
If it were me, I would have joined the Spina di Rosula on a...
All right, you two.
Actually, Navia, how did you know that we were in danger?
Well, to be honest, you're the one who tipped us off.
Huh? Really?
Yes. All thanks to you grabbing my drink by mistake.
How did that help?
After we parted ways, I was on the way back to one of our bases when I suddenly thought of what you said. That the Fanta tasted kind of salty and icky? Fanta only comes in sweet flavors. So how could it have tasted salty?
So the Fanta had been spiked with water from the...
Yes. So if you hadn't drunk that cup for me...
Spina di Rosula is preparing the grandest of awards.
Huh? Really?
I sent people to Hotel de Boer to investigate. That's when I figured out that you might be in danger.
But why would they go after us too? All we did was defend Linny in court and help clear his name.
Well, you did foil a plan that they were probably pretty proud. Speaking of which, did anything strange happen when you drank?
Well, it can't be coincidence that the traveler fainted just now. She said that she heard that foot. Oh, and this time Paimon heard it too. But it was real faint. Does this situation have to do with the primordial seawater then? Does that mean the primordial seawater raises someone's sensitivity to...
That doesn't sound like too much of a bad thing, to be honest.
New intel? While you...
Well, let's hear it, shall we? Oh, that is important. Vache. That name doesn't ring a bell. Since he saw that young woman dissolve, he was at least at the crime scene. But he never gave testimony or any information regarding people dissolving in the primordial seawater. Could he? Yes, thank you. This is very important information indeed. We will continue to investigate. Oh, you mean you'll...
Well, you did say that our farewell meal didn't really count. And besides, we're in this now whether we like it or not.
Demoiselle, do try not to look quite so pleased. You are the face of Spina di Rosula.
You talk too much. Well, in that case, let's head back to one of our bases, shall we? We also have some plans to go over, and hopefully we can deepen our...
Don't worry, you two. With us around our base...
let's move out. Let's move out.